Now that I've taken some time to kind of recover and kind of think it over, I had a fantastic workout today. And, I had that thought while I was doing it and going through it. Everything felt like it was moving really well. But even just now in retrospect, it just, everything went smooth. I didn't have any hiccups on any sets or anything. I didn't have anything that was ever in doubt. And looking over things now, I did 255 in my back squats, 285 on the conventional deadlifts, and then like 42 and a half pounds for the dumbbell bench. And the back squats are moving super well. One thing I really kind of focused on was trying to get the movement back in order and remembering the proper cues that I gave myself to be able to successfully do my reps. And I think there's a couple of things here or there that are not quite where they need to be, but that's fine. This is a kind of an adjustment period to get back used to doing it. But it was kind of just focusing on one thing this workout instead of trying to do cue after cue after cue. Like, okay, get the bar, sit it on your back, upright, focus on breaking into the hips, come down, cut yourself with your hips, push through with your glutes and quads, follow through and lock in. That's a lot of cues that you can give yourself, but it's hard to remember every single one in the moment as you're going through and doing the actual rep. And so honestly, I typically focus on a couple of them or maybe even just one and really hone in on that to make sure that everything's moving really well. And I was predominantly focusing on my glutes today to make sure that I had good, good movement with those. And once those got really solid, I focus on locking in on my core to try to induce a little bit extra core work that I usually don't get doing this weight, just because it's a bit lighter for me. I usually don't feel my core engaging until about 280 or 290 on the back squat. And this is the set where I specifically started focusing on core engagement. And that was specifically because I could feel my lower back starting to take a little bit of extra brunt on the movement. And looking at this now, it's just because on the first three sets, there was a secondary hitch coming up where my hips would stop and I would load on the lower back a little bit. I was coming up with the weight because I was losing core stability. And so focusing on the core and getting that locked in prevented that my back from rounding because I'm pulling everything in and holding it more strongly and being able to do these reps more successfully and avoid any sort of extraneous movement, and that's something that you can tell just from the response of your body in the middle of these reps. This last set, all of these look really good. My hips are well below the knee crease. Everything's moving super well. I feel no hesitation with those reps at all. It was just a really, really nice squat workout. I warmed up with an open bar, 135 and then 225. It just kind of moved like nothing. Deadlifts opened up 135, 225, and then a double at 265. And that wasn't too bad at all. So I went to 285 for my reps. For these, kind of the same thing. I was focusing on making sure I locked my hips, which was a normal thing for me. Once I got that down, I believe starting in the second set, I know that my main deficiency in conventional deadlifts is getting off the floor. And a lot of that comes from breaking tension in the bar at the beginning of the rep and fully engaging your lats to be able to accommodate that weight as you're pulling it off of the ground. 285 is somewhat trivial for me at this point on a conventional deadlift, so I can pull it at will. But I really wanted to make sure I focus on getting my shoulders locked in. So you can see a little bit of a roll in my shoulders as I'm rolling them back and engaging my lats and really using that to leverage against the barbell to help start the movement. I have in the past pulled a couple inches, waited, and then finished the pull. And that's a good way to do it too. But I wanted today to focus on breaking the tension in the bar while it was on the ground still and fully engaging everything before the pull even started. Just so I can get the full utility of that movement. So right here, engage, pull. Still on the ground. Engage, pull. And honestly, looking at my back position, it's still really good. My back isn't rounded; it's nice and flat. It's a strong movement. Everything's moving synchronized instead of the sequential motion that I have done in the past. And honestly, as I did these, any sort of strain that I had in my lower back was alleviated because I was properly activating the hips and the hamstrings to help kind of take load off of my back while I'm doing these, and it helped stretch my back out a little bit. And it just moved super well. This was a very satisfying workout to do. The only downside was that I ripped like every callus on both of my hands, just because I'm not used to doing deadlifts, in sets yet. Again, especially on a conventional deadlift, but it'll get there. I'm just really happy with how things went today. I'm debating if I want to do deficit deadlifts tomorrow, which I think is going to, or tomorrow on Thursday, which I think will be the plan. Probably do those around about 270 or so, and then just kind of hang on those for a while and see how that goes. Just to kind of build extra strength up off the floor. I know that I can do more than this on a conventional deadlift, so doing about the same weight on deficits will definitely help because it'll help push. It'll be the same work as pulling like 300 at 270 or somewhere in the ballpark of like 330. Doing that on a deficit, and at least doing it for 5 sets should do pretty well. Doing the dumbbell bench press, I did find a position as I was doing this that was causing strain in my right shoulder, and I was able to adjust where I was placing my right arm to take the load off of my shoulder and put it back onto my chest. So there is some movement that's going on when I'm doing bench press that's causing extraneous load onto my shoulder that probably caused the initial tear and shoulder pain that I experienced last year. So I'm already seeing some good response with this, to where I was able to identify that position and slowly work it out in the second set and figure out exactly where I needed to have my the dumbbell placed. And then in the subsequent third and fourth sets, I had no feeling of strain whatsoever. The 42.5 was doable, a little bit hard, which is about where I want it to be for building a little bit of muscle, both in the triceps and the chest. Altogether, it's not even 90 pounds on the combined weight of the press, but doing it for 12 reps and doing it on a dumbbell is a lot harder than doing it on a barbell, because you're relying on each arm to individually stabilize as opposed to being able to use the entire, all of your delts, your chest, and your arms to stabilize a barbell. It's much harder to do dumbbells. So there's a bit more development that you can get from doing it this way as opposed to approaching with a barbell. And it is definitely easier on the shoulders because I can free up my right arm and figure out what position is causing me that issue with the barbell, and kind of train myself, in a fashion similar to like greasing the groove to develop that position and be more prepared for doing barbell bench press. I think I'm going to stick at 42.5 for this week, maybe even next week as well, just to kind of get used to the weight again. Then probably bump up to 45 and just slowly and carefully build the weight on this exercise. I probably am going to have to go buy some more 10-pound plates or maybe some more 5-pound plates to more adequately use these dumbbells for this purpose, because I don't have the space nor the money for an entire dumbbell set. But this is a pretty good response so far. I'm not sure when I'm going to add in more chest exercises, but I think I'll add in something like flies to kind of add a little bit more variety in addition to the presses for development with the chest. And then with bench, I think I'll probably park it at 255 for this week and just get used to the movement again. The back squat still looked really well, but the fact that I was loading my lower back just a little bit, tells me that I need to take a little bit of care to make sure that I'm doing everything properly. Just because I know that I can muscle all of these weights up, no problem. I just want to make sure that I'm not doing that in a way that's going to harm my back going forward, because that's not a position that I want to be in. Back pain sucks, and I've dealt with that for quite some time, and I don't want to be in a position to where I'm having to experience worse back pain day in and day out. Kind of similar to the position I was in when I tried doing my front squats more upright, and I heavily loaded my lower back and really kind of screwed myself up for about 4 or 5 days there while everything slowly recovered and I was able to start moving again and working out. So want to avoid a situation like that. Don't think I'm going to be in that position tomorrow, just because after that happened the first time, I was immediately like getting pretty strong feedback that was the wrong way to go. But this was exciting. Tuesday, going to be back squats, deficit deadlifts, and some tricep exercises. So I'll figure out what those are going to be when I get to it.